Welcome to episode 4 of the Real World LC series, right here on Practical Import-Export from start to finish. Today we're diving into the most important SWIFT fields in a letter of credit. Fast, clear and practical. Let's start with field 32B. This is a mandatory field that shows the currency and total amount of the letter of credit. Be extra careful when filling this out. A single typo or extra zero can change the entire value, and once the LC is sent, it's too late to correct. Also, always double-check the currency. While most LCs are issued in USD, don't assume. Sometimes it should be JPY, GBP, or another currency. One wrong click could mean big problems later. Next up is field 39A, which is optional. This field tells you if there's any flexibility in the quantity of goods shipped or the total LC value. If you see 00/00, that means no tolerance is allowed. The buyer must ship the exact quantity stated, and the seller must deliver goods worth exactly the LC amount. Did you know that leaving this field blank has the same effect? No tolerance allowed. So including 00/00 is just repeating the default rule. For example, if the LC says $10,000, the seller must ship exactly $10,000 worth of goods. No more, no less. Now let's move on to field 41D. This part tells you which banks can pay the seller and how the payment works. There are two main options. If it says any bank in China by payment, the seller can use any bank in China, giving them maximum flexibility. But if it names a specific bank, only that bank can handle the transaction, limiting the seller's choices. So how does the payment happen? There are three common methods. First, site payment. The bank pays the seller immediately upon document submission. Second, deferred payment. The bank promises to pay after a set time, like 30 days. And third, negotiation. The seller gets paid early by their own bank, which then handles the paperwork with the LC issuing bank. Now let's look at field 42C, which is an optional field that tells you when the payment happens. If it says drafts at site, the buyer must pay immediately when the seller submits documents. This usually matches field 41D if it says available by payment. But here's what really matters. If 42C says 60 days after shipment, the buyer will pay later, even if 41D says by payment. So think of field 42C as the timeline and field 41D as the method. Together they define how and when the seller gets paid. Finally, in SWIFT MT700 messages, field 42A specifies the Drawee bank, the bank that's expected to pay under the LC. This is where the bill of exchange, also known as the draft, should be drawn. For example, if it says Deutsche Bank China, then the draft must be made payable to Deutsche Bank. If this field is missing, the default is to draw the draft on the issuing bank. Understanding these SWIFT fields helps ensure smooth, error-free international trade. Thanks for watching, and remember, accuracy saves money. Don't forget to like, subscribe and stay updated on more trade finance tips from Practical Import-Export from start to finish.